Hey, what's happening? You're listening to the Victory Loves Company podcast. I'm Conrad Agderian. Today is Monday, April 2nd, 2018. I hope everybody had a safe, happy, and enjoyable Easter. I know we did over here at the Agderian household. A lot of good food, a lot of good memories, a lot of leftovers. Anyways, today I am joined with Patty Murphy, who is a seasoned Disneyland vacationer, a kid at heart, and today she's going to talk to us about how to plan the best possible Disneyland vacation of your dreams. We'll clarify and simplify the process thanks to her patronage at the Anaheim theme park. Murph, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, it's my understanding that you have what is classified as RNF, is that correct?
RNF? What's that?
It is the antithesis of RBF, resting bitch face. You have resting nice face.
I've heard that, yes, thank you.
What is the secret to being so approachable?
I guess I was just raised right. I don't know. I'm very patient with others. That's a funny question. Put me on the spot. Patient, I already said that. I try and treat others as I would like to be treated.
Well, you're going to have to give Gina some pointers.
Uh-oh.
All right? I'm kidding.
She is lovely.
Well, you both are very lovely ladies.
Thank you.
So,
anytime I can talk about Disney.
well, people of all ages go to Disneyland to have fun and escape the stresses of life. However, planning a trip can be potentially stressful as there's a lot of moving parts with it. What keeps drawing you back? Why do you keep going?
Well, it's Disney, so I mean that kind of goes without saying. But secondly, maybe even more importantly than that, is that I get to spend the time with my family. Typically, I go with family. I don't think I've ever gone without family. Get to see my nieces and nephew together, so that it makes it worth it. It's the top of the list. I would do it, as many times as I could.
Who do you typically go with?
It started out with just my sister who lives out in California and her daughter, my niece. I would go out to visit them, and then we would take a day trip down because they were only about 45 minutes or so from there. Sometimes we'd stay over, and then one time we stayed over for a few nights. So that kind of, lit the spark, or if that's the right phrase, to staying more often, not just doing a day trip. And then when my nieces and nephew that live in New Jersey got a little bit older, I took my eldest niece with me. We had a few days out there with them, and then the next year I took the next oldest, and then gradually got my nephew in it too. So my mom has gone out, my sister has gone out. One year I have another sister in Florida. She joined us too. So it was all the girls before my nephew joined us. So it was a nice girls' long weekend.
Cool.
Yeah.
How many times in total have you been?
Probably about 10 times in the last 15 years or so.
Do you remember the first time you went?
I think it was in 2007 when my niece was only about 6 months old, my niece that lives out there, and I went with my brother and sister-in-law and the kids, and their 3 kids, and my mom, and we went out. We saw my sister and brother-in-law in Burbank for a few days, and then we went down to Anaheim for a few days, and it was really good. It was a fun. I believe that was the first time I was there to that particular park.
And so 10 times, so almost, what is that, about once a year, right?
Yeah. We do go every year. My niece's school holds a day trip it's like a field trip basically, that they go every year in February, and that's when we go to. They go for the day with the school, and then we just extend it for a few more days after that, the long weekend.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it seems like you know what the hell you're talking about.
I hope so.
All right, so for first-timers, people who've never been there, want to go there, what are some of the first things that they should know? Should they jump right into which hotels to go to? What's kind of like the initial steps?
If you want to stay at a Disney hotel, there's only the 3. There's a Disneyland hotel, which is I think the original, Paradise Pier, and then the Grand Californian. I've never stayed at the Disneyland hotel, so I can't speak to that. But being that there's only 3 Disney affiliated hotels, I would try and get that reservation booked sooner rather than later, because they do fill up fast because they're popular. There's tons of hotels around. When I went in the first time in 2007 with my family, we stayed at one that was literally across the street, so we would walk to it. It's all very contained. And
Was it Disney affiliated, or was it just
it
like
wasn't.
a? Was it like a Hilton or something? Or
Yeah, I think it was like a Best Western or something. So I mean, they're all nice and everything. They range from the high end to the low end, but there's one after the next on the street. So you really have your choice of where you want to stay. We just prefer the Disney affiliated ones because of the extra magic hours and the proximity. They're definitely closer than the ones that are across the street, because you do have it's a bit of a healthy walk. I mean, obviously we can do it, but fortunately, but this is it's the convenience of being in a Disney hotel.
So the Grand Californian,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess would be the equivalent of the Grand Floridian in Disney World, which is kind of, because what you're telling me is that the Grand Californian is kind of like the top tier hotel.
It is the top, yeah. It resembles mostly the Wilderness Lodge in Florida, but yeah, it's one of the top hotels. It's
And you stayed there, correct?
Yeah, we used to stay at Paradise Pier for a few years, and it was great. We got rooms that looked out over California Adventure. That was really really neat, because literally it's across the street. You could see the rides and the Ferris wheels and roller coasters and stuff. So that was pretty cool, and spoiled us for any other hotels. And then it actually happened as kind of a happy accident that we needed the year we brought my mom with us. She needs an accessible room, sorry, and they didn't have any available at Paradise Pier. So we were like, let's look into Grand Californian, which we did, and it worked out really well. We got a suite, with the living room in the middle and stuff, and it worked out really really well in so much as that we stayed there again this year. Without my mom, because it was just, and maybe we got spoiled again to the next level.
Because you're setting the bar so high so soon, right?
Yeah, and it's just, the convenience of literally having an entrance to California Adventure from the Grand Californian. You have your own special, I don't want to say private because other people can use it, but it's only people that stay at the Grand Californian can use this entrance, separate from the main entrance. So you have that advantage. It's slightly into the park already, so you have a couple of advantages to that. You don't have to walk through a portion of the park to already be in it. So that's helpful on like extra magic hour mornings and stuff like that, because you're right there.
For people that are not staying in a Disney affiliated hotel, do not have the I don't want to say privilege, but don't have access to extra magic hours, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just the more popular rides, obviously that's where people go. I shouldn't say obviously, but that's where most people go. They head right to the ones that you're normally standing in line for, and if you can get them at that extra magic hour, it's definitely worth it. You can get on it. What we've done too is we've gone on those rides, and then you have to wait for the park hours to open, and then you can get in California. You don't have the fast passes that you can get in advance. So once the park opens, you can get the fast passes, like they have tickets, or you can get them on like your phone, on your app or whatever. So we've done that in the past, where we go the extra magic hour, we'll go on the ride that we want to go on, and then maybe another one that's not, doesn't have a long line, but it's a popular ride. And then by then the park may be open, and we'll get a fast pass for maybe the same ride for later in the day.
Do they use magic bands there?
They do not.
What do they use? Where they use cards?
It's a card. Yeah, it's
Okay.
a card that's magic your way or something. It's like it's your card, it's your room key, your park pass. They try and combine it as much as they can.
When you go, how long do you typically stay for?
We usually stay about 4 days.
Do you find that to be ideal?
For those parks, yeah. I mean, since I've been there a few times, I think it is. If it's your first time, you may want to go a little bit longer. But it's only the two. I shouldn't say it's only the two, but it's only the two parks, so you can do it. It's not as big as Florida for sure. So you can definitely do it in probably like 4 days. You do 2 days in each park, get a park hopper, or not if you don't want. If you want to, restrict yourself to one park a day, that's fine. That's not how I like to do it. I like to have that flexibility. But you can do it, I think, in 4 days, because we do it in 3. I'm sorry, but I would say 4 is probably better, because then you can definitely do at least 2 days for each park. I think that's plenty.
Do you think that would vary depending on the age demographics of the people that are going? So, for example, if you're going more with kids, would that be more time consuming than going with a bunch of people that are over 18?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think so, definitely, yeah, because the kids are, you're going to want to take breaks, go back to the hotel. Not that you can't do that as an adult, but they don't move as fast. If you have strollers, you factor all that stuff in, because we've done that too. I mean, we've been to Walt Disney World when my nieces and nephew were younger too, and they've had the strollers and stuff, and it's just find parking for them, and so it just takes a little bit more time.
What are some must-do rides there?
Well, the classics, like Small World, I love Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise. It's the corny ride that you have to do. I swear you get a different joke from different, skippers or whatever they're called every time.
What's it called? Jungle Cruise?
Jungle Cruise, yeah. Space Mountain.
Space Mountain with the lights on or off?
Only experience it with the lights off.
All right.
But those are like the classics, I think. Pirates of the Caribbean, the ones that have been there, I think, from the beginning. Those are the must-dos.
Is it true that Walt Disney, his ashes are spread out over?
That's what I heard, but I don't know.
They use actual dead bodies
in the Haunted Mansion.
Is there a Cars ride there or something that's
Yes.
really popular?
Yes,
what kinds
thank
of
you.
other rides besides the classics would be appropriate for people to do?
California Adventure's the newer of the two parks, obviously, because Disneyland's been there forever. And in California Adventure, they built it within the past few years, Cars Land, and it's really cute. If you're a fan, or if you have a child that's a fan of that movie, it's the street from Cars. It's obvious, they can replicate it because they're the ones that created it. And at the end of the street is it's a ride called Radiator Springs Racers, I think is what it's called. And you're in cars, little cars that mimic the ones from the movie, and you're racing another car around the track, but you drive through like scenes from the movie. I don't know if you're familiar with
That's
it, but
cool.
it's really neat, and that's a fun one. We like to do that. We've raced each other. We've been lucky enough to have raced each other, like the kids in one car and the adults in another, and that was fun. There's a roller coaster that's currently under construction. It was called California Screamin'. I've never been on it because I'm not a big fan of the
I saw
loops.
YouTube videos on it. That looks like a cool ride. I've yet to go on that, and I would love to.
Yeah, they're revamping it. I'm sure it'll be the same sort of design, but they're making that whole area. It was called Paradise Pier, and it was supposed to be more like boardwalky kind of themed, and they're revamping it to be more Pixar. I think they're going to be calling it Pixar Pier. So the California Screamin' is going to be modeled after the Incredibles movie. They're gonna have stuff there for like Inside Out. There's like a Bing Bong sweet shop or something, I think, that my sister's very excited about because she loves Bing Bong. But they're revamping that because I think there were pockets of that weren't really visited. They had like the boardwalk games and stuff like that, and they weren't as popular, I think, as people want to go on the ride. So I think they're adding some of that. They also have over the Toy Story Midway Mania, which is a hugely popular one.
Yeah, we've got to go on the one at Disney World, and hopefully we can go on.
Oh, I love that
next
ride.
time we go.
Yeah, that's a fun one. And there's also Mickey's Fun Wheel, which is, if you ever see pictures of California Adventure, it's the iconic Ferris wheel with Mickey in the middle. That has the cars that some of them move and some of them are stationary. So that's a fun one. We've always gone on the ones that move. So that, I would say, that was closed because of the renovation that they're doing there. The only thing that was open was a Toy Story ride.
Well, that and I think we've discussed this, or we're actually chatting about this the other day, Patty, where that Paradise Pier was kind of like Dino Land. If for those of you who are familiar with the Animal Kingdom in Walt Disney World, where it's kind of boardwalky, but not very it's not very visited, and to me it's a waste of space. And I know a lot of other Disney park fans feel the same way, because there's really not much going on there. I feel like I could go to the Jersey Shore and go on a boardwalk ride that's very, very similar. So there's really nothing special about it. So it's good that they're revamping it to be Pixar themed, because everybody has a favorite Pixar movie. I mean, mine is obviously all the Toy Story movies and also Monsters Inc. But yeah, it's good to know that they're revamping and improving and giving people what they want. I know that Cars ride, though, is very popular, and that is unfortunately not in Walt Disney World. But
that's one that people literally run to get to, like when the rope drops, because they want to get on it.
It seems like you were the planner.
I love
the
to plan.
team. Is that correct?
I love to plan. Yes.
All right. Is planning a trip to Disneyland, is that something that should be done in advance, or is it something that you can kind of just go there and wing? I know you had mentioned it's better to book the hotel sooner rather than later, but that being said, after the fact, can you just kind of get there and figure it out, or do you need to have like an itinerary?
I recommend planning it as much as you can, because when you get there, you just want to go and have fun. You don't want to have to think about, where am I going to have dinner tonight? Am I going to be able to have a dinner reservation? We've gone there with...
Sounds like my house.
We've gone there. We went in 2010 with my whole family. There was, I think, 15 or 16 of us in total. Yeah. We had to reserve make our dinner reservations at the, whenever the window opened for doing so, because there was no way we would have been able to eat together otherwise. But even if you have two people, you still have to do it, because the restaurants are so popular. If you want to have a sit-down dinner or lunch or, a character meal or whatever, you have to make that reservation no matter how big your party is.
What is the time frame that you need? Is it the 180 days like it is for Disney World?
I think so. I believe so. I don't know off the top of my head, and I apologize, because my sister usually makes, the one that lives in California usually makes the dinner reservations, because everything's under her name. But she makes them months in advance. We try and, get as much time beforehand, because, you want to make sure you have it. You want to make sure it's done. And then similarly to that, when you're, if you can do any kind of like planning, like we plan, even though it's an early thing, we want to make sure we do the magic hours and what park are we going to go to each day. We don't just, figure out that morning when we wake up, oh, where do you want to go? I don't know. I want to go here. You have to have a plan. You have to be like, okay, we're going to Magic Kingdom, or it's actually Disneyland out there. Go to Disneyland today. We're going to get there for, when the park opens. We want to head to Peter Pan first. We want to, not that you have to be like, check, 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 but you have to have a plan. Like if you're going to Tomorrowland, you want to be like, okay, we're going to go to, or if you want to go to Space Mountain, you're going to Tomorrowland. Over there is Buzz Lightyear also. So you kind of,
just a general idea.
Yeah, general idea of,
you need to be here at 10:01 a.m.
No, you can't be that structured, but you have to have a general idea. And, but, it's definitely worth it, because you can waste a lot of time if you're just if you don't know what you want to do. Everybody has to kind of be on the same page. We talk with the kids and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. If you want to be there for when the park opens, this is when we're leaving. You have to have that structure to some extent.
What about restaurants? Are there certain restaurants that take longer to get into? Any Patty's picks?
There is actually one. This year when we went, we ate at two different ones. We're trying to do better, like have better meals. Not have like chicken fingers and fries all the time.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
You're damn right, there's nothing
wrong
with that.
But if you're eating churros and popcorn, you want to have a better dinner. But in Disneyland called Blue Bayou, and it's in New Orleans Square area, and it's very cool atmosphere. You're inside, but you feel like you're outside. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride is right there. Kind of the boats go right by you. You're by the water, because hence the bayou. So you get that like quiet, like the the crickets sounding, and you feel like you're outside and stuff. And just I love the relaxed atmosphere. We've been very lucky with the waiters and waitresses that we've had. They've been very personable. It's Disney, so you're going to get good ones, but I just think they're a little bit better. And this year we went, to one in California Adventure. That one was called Carthay Circle Restaurant. It was nice. It was, I think, trying to be fancier than it was, is the best way I can kind of describe it. They have the waiters, they come, you sit down and they put the napkins on your lap and stuff. And the food was okay. It wasn't great. It was, I was not as impressed as I thought I would be with it. It was fine.
Not worth it.
I don't think so. I would go back to Blue Bayou, and maybe I'm just spoiled with that one. And the food in Blue Bayou wasn't, like that it was that much better. It was fine. It was, it was good food, but I just, I would recommend Blue Bayou over Carthay Circle. We also went to this year a new one, Cafe Orleans, which is in Disneyland. It's in the same, I think it's in New Orleans Square, same area as Blue Bayou. We ate outside, and it was great. We actually met some of our friends that live out in California. They met us for dinner. it happened to be at the same time that they were doing, they do like a Phantasmic type show, which was right behind us. So we couldn't, the timing was such that we couldn't really have much of a conversation. The food was good, the service was good. It was just the timing was a little crazy because they're not doing parades because they're doing some reconstruction on Main Street, so it's kind of blocked off. So they aren't doing the parades. So I think this show took the place of like a parade kind of thing. They had all the characters in and stuff. That was good too. It was different because we didn't, we couldn't have the conversation that you would normally have over dinner, but so that kind of took away from it a little bit in my opinion. But so it would be nice to try and maybe go back another time and hit the same restaurant and see if maybe a little earlier or even a little later and see if it's
were they in the same parks or were they in different parks?
Cafe Orleans was in Disneyland. Carthay Circle Restaurant was in California Adventure.
Just to recap, for those of you who, and we've mentioned extra magic hours a few times here, extra magic hours are times, typically I believe in Disneyland it's prior to opening, correct?
Correct.
So if, for example, if the park is set to open at 9 a.m., those who stay in Disneyland Hotel, so if you're staying in the Disneyland Hotel, if you're staying in the Grand California or Paradise Pier, then you have that opportunity to get into the park and ride the rides before those who are not staying in a Disneyland hotel can. So it's almost like an hour of just those who are affiliated or staying in those hotels to get on those rides before everybody else comes.
Yep.
And that's one of the benefits of staying in a Disney
Absolutely.
in a Disney hotel and Disney World does the same thing. So you're able to get on those big, or what they call the e-ticket rides in Disneyland,
Right.
to get on those rides and ride the rides without a fast pass, hopefully with a shorter wait. And then once 9 o'clock hits, then everybody else can come in. And by that time, you're just bopping along doing something else.
Or by that time, you go get breakfast or something. You've been on a couple rides, so it's worth it. And I think going back a little bit to an earlier question that you asked about the time, how many days should you stay there? If you're staying there just a few days, it's worth it to stay in a Disney hotel because you have that extra hour, you have that extra time. One of the things that Disneyland apps and stuff have now are the wait times, and you can get them on other, pay for services or whatever, where they have the wait times, the actual wait times, not what Disney has posted, whatever. Either one, those are so handy to have, whichever park you're at, in Florida or in California, because when you're standing in, maybe standing in line for one ride for, a short line or whatever, if it's a fast pass, you may have to wait a little bit. You can look at that app and go, okay, since we're here, what do you want to go to next? This, and this has, these respective wait times and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to have that. Don't get off the ride and just be like, so, you have to kind of think ahead a little bit too.
And you don't want to be hoofing it from one end of the park to the other. Correct. And then back and forth.
Absolutely.
You're going to burn yourself out, especially if you have little kids with you.
100%.
Kids are going to be cranky
Mm-hmm.
and tired.
Yeah. So that's it. When you're in Space Mountain over there, I mean, if you like Star Wars, there's a bazillion things with Star Wars related over there. I know they're building like a Star Wars land. I don't know when that's going to be done. That was under construction when we were out there, behind Toontown area. Just hit those in that same area. I mean, it makes the most sense.
And to go back to the fast passes, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a fast pass is, you're able to almost pre-book these experiences to cut the line. So for example, if you want a fast pass for Pirates of the Caribbean and you get a fast pass, and now and you can get that pass, you get on a separate line that's typically much shorter than what they call the standby line. So you're almost essentially cutting the line of those who don't have a fast pass. How do you book fast passes in Disneyland?
Mary, in case you haven't figured out, Gina is the planner of the tour. So, as my father always says, if you don't know, ask someone who does. So here we are. But she's the one that plans all this shit. So
Definitely.
Right.
Well, the difference between the two, like Gina says, is that you can't book the fast passes in advance in California, whether it's Disneyland or California Adventure. You can do, if you have an app like the My Disney Experience app, you can go on there and book it. There was an extra feature that Disney, my sister is a annual pass holder because she lives out there, and she and my niece will go, for a day trip. Then maybe they'll play hooky one day and they'll go down. You can add other people on and book fast passes for them, but it's just one you can book at a time on your phone, and then anybody you link your cards because it's, the magic bands. You link your cards to it. You had to scan them, and then you just go to the ride and you just put your card in there, whatever the machine is, and then you proceed on the thing. They've gotten away from the paper tickets. They do spit them out of the machines sometimes if you get them, but it's more of a reminder of this is your window of time to go back. That's the biggest difference, I think, is that you can only do one fast pass through the app as opposed to the 3 you can do in advance. What did we do, 90 days I think in advance or something, or 60 days in advance. In Florida, yeah, we can do that.
What airport do you recommend flying into?
Good question. We used to go into Burbank and then stay with my sister for like one night and then drive down with her the next day. And then we realized, well, we don't need to do that because that's an extra hotel we have to stay in, on both ends of it, coming and going. So we actually flew into Anaheim Airport. I think it's John Wayne Airport, one year, and then just did a super shuttle from there, which was great. It's not that far. It's not too far, I should say. And then this past year, we actually flew into, because we got a really good deal on a flight, we flew into LAX and did super shuttle from there. Which wasn't too bad. I think it's actually fairly equidistant from Anaheim in terms of travel time.
How far?
It was probably about 45 minutes or so. It wasn't too bad. And I think we were able to fly directly from Newark into LAX, which was nice. You didn't have that layover anywhere. So it helps on travel time. You get there quicker, I think.
I know you had mentioned a couple of the different parks, the restaurants and whatnot to eat at. Why don't you indulge a little bit about the parks, like different sizes, the themes, and what's available?
Sure. Well, Disneyland is the equivalent of Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World. So you've kind of, you have your Main Street, you have your, spoke and hub or whatever the design is. So you have your Tomorrowland, the same kind of thing. It's a little bit of a different layout. I'm actually looking forward to going to Walt Disney World in April because I'm so familiar with Disneyland that it's going to be a little bit different. But
is Main Street as soon as you walk in?
As soon as you walk in, you have the railroad station,
right.
And then you walk in and Main Street's there, yeah, and the castle's down the end of it. Mm-hmm. The difference is with in California is that you have California Adventure also, and that is it's kind of a conglomeration. I think it's a little bit of Disney Hollywood Studios in terms of like that's where they have their Monsters Inc. and they used to have the Tower of Terror. It's now Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, has taken over. So, but California Adventure, I kind of like to think of like if you know where Magic Kingdom is in Walt Disney World, and they have is it Bay Lake, the water in front of it. If you kind of put a theme park right there on the lake, that's kind of equidistant between Disneyland and California Adventure. It's that close. Wow. So yeah, you just kind of walk across this like promenade area, and you can go from one park to the next. Okay. So it's very convenient. I mean, that's great for like park hoppers if you want to go one of them in the morning and then go to one for lunch and then go back to the other one for dinner. It's very convenient walking. But California Adventure, like I said, they're doing some renovations to some of the rides, but I think Disneyland has more of the rides, but I think they're trying to maybe add some more to California Adventure to, make it even more popular.
Right.
Well, I know that they do have a lot of construction, as you mentioned earlier, going on in Disneyland and California Adventure. And I think I've read this on Disney blogs because I'm a nerd and I read all those. I've read that it's becoming, because Disneyland traditionally has been known more of as a locals park or for those who live on the West Coast. Now you have family out on the West Coast, so you go out and see them and you're killing two birds with one stone, essentially.
Well, not literally, right?
No, not literally.
Okay.
So,
that'd be cruel.
Yeah. So I think with all of the addition to like the Star Wars and all this other stuff that's going on in Disneyland, I think it's going to start turning into less of a locals park and more of a destination, a tourist destination, even for those of us like who live out here on the East Coast. Yeah. Who are going to be thinking, hey, they've got this, but they don't have this in Disney World, so maybe it's worth a 5-hour plane ride to go out there for 4 or 5 nights and see what's going on there. So it'll be interesting to see how it transforms over the next few years.
Absolutely. With the Star Wars land, the Cars land, which they added recently, the renovations that they're doing to Paradise Pier to make a Pixar Pier, I think they're absolutely moving in that direction.
What are some Instagrammable snacks?
Well, I love the churro. That's my number one. This year, actually, we did a fun little quest, I guess, which is what we called it. I think it was a Saturday that we were there. We had gotten shirts. I think my sister got them off like Etsy or something, and they had like the different Disneyland specific treats you could get. Some were available both
on the shirt.
On the shirt, it was on the shirt. So they had Dole Whip and yeah, it's my first time actually. I had never had a Dole Whip before.
I've never had a Dole Whip either.
Yeah,
And
my
you're not
sister
going to
loves them. Yeah, they have them in Florida. It's
They
in
do.
yeah, it's like Aloha something or
It's in
whatever.
the Polynesian
Yeah.
resort.
So, we had like turkey legs and tiger tail, which I think is you can only get that in Disneyland, which was good. But it
What
was
is it?
But what is Tigger Tail?
Tiger tail is it's 3 marshmallows with caramel. With I think it's white chocolate that I think they color it like orange, and then they have like it's supposed to look like a tiger's tail, like tiger. So it's in like Pooh Corner and it's cute. So we would get like a Mickey beignet or a tiger tail or whatever, and take a picture with our group of it, and then we would split it, and it was fun. It was just you had a little piece of it, corn dogs and stuff, and so that was our quest for the day, and it was fun in between all our rides and stuff. So it was something different to do.
And this is all grammable, correct?
Yeah, it's all grammable. Sure, that's why we were taking the pictures because
Why do people do that?
I don't know, because it was fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
And it's
But you're rubbing in everybody's face.
Yeah, well,
it's
So?
like I'm here
And you're not.
You're not.
Well, then
I don't know.
They need to listen to this podcast and figure out how to get there. Do it right.
well, and that's another cool idea too, is something to do when you're in the parks.
Right.
Not saying that you got to spend your whole day eating, but
Right.
in between your rides, and provided you're not going on California Screaming or something like that, and then or eating right before you go on some big ride that's going to make you kind of sick.
Yeah.
But you could go on Small World and say, okay, I'm going to have a Tigger Tail, and then go on maybe 2 more rides. Okay, let's do the Dole Whip, and
Right.
so it's cool to kind of do a progressive snack eating
Yep.
as you go through the park during the day.
And that's kind of what we did. Like we knew like the Tigger Tail is only available in Pooh's Corner, I think it is, and so whatever rides were over in that area, we did like that. I think Haunted Mansion, and then we went and got that, and then we went to another. They're not all over, so some of them were only churros you can get anywhere, but some of them were location specific. So we planned our rides around our snacks.
Are Pooh's Corner, is that the name of the bathrooms there?
No comment.
Well, and the other thing too, with what you were saying about getting the T-shirts for your family from Etsy. Etsy, just side note, they're not sponsoring this podcast or anything, but Etsy has some great Disney themed shirts. If you are planning a trip, you can get some cool stuff, as Murph had mentioned, with the snack names, or you could get they're all different. If you just type in Disney shirts, men's, women's, kids Disney shirts, they have some really creative, cute ones that you'll definitely want to take a look at, because that just adds to the fun of having your little Mickey or Minnie or princess shirt or whatever.
Yeah, we're already trying to think of what we want to get for next year.
How many shirts did you buy him?
I have a lot of shirts.
Why don't you humor me as to how many shirts you actually went?
More than 5.
More than 5, but less than 100?
Yep.
That's what we need, more shirts. Transportation between the parks, how does that work?
It's all on foot if you're staying at a Disney hotel, which is good because then we didn't have to rent a car, so there's that expense. I mean, you have to pay for whatever, however you get to the airport or to and from the airport, which was Super Shuttle. But basically, if you rented a car, if you're planning to go anywhere else, then you would need something or do an Uber. But we weren't, so we didn't rent a car. You have to pay to park, even at the hotel. So we didn't have those expenses of renting a car and then paying for it to literally sit there at the parking lot. But everything is walkable. Everything is, you're literally walking from one park to the other. There's no buses. They have the tram cars. If you are not staying at a Disney hotel and you're just driving there and parking in their parking lot, they have the tram car that brings you to basically kind of like a main central area that you could go to either one. You could either go to Disneyland or California Adventure from there. So it kind of brings you to like downtown Disney is what they call it. That's where it brings you. So then just walking. It's a lot of walking.
But see, then that gives you an excuse. You could have your Tigger Tail, you could have your Dole Whip, you could have your churro, and it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to walk this all off.
We
anyway. It's
probably,
totally
I
fine.
think we walk like an average of probably like 11 miles every day. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Is it really 11 miles?
Yeah. My sister had her Fitbit and she was like, we walked a lot. I'm like, yeah, no, my feet hurt.
I don't even think I would want to drive 11 miles.
No. But you don't realize it
I
because
know
you're,
you don't. Yeah,
you're going
'cause
from one
it's
place to the other.
sensory overload. You know, 'cause you're so mesmerized by all the attractions and whatnot.
Exactly. Which is good. You don't have to rely on like bus schedules or
Right.
anything. You can go whenever you want to go to either one.
Also, as I'm sure we can all attest to, Conrad and I being Disney World park veterans and you being the Disneyland and Disney World park veteran,
Yeah.
you have to buy comfortable shoes.
Yeah,
Can't
amen.
stress that enough.
100%.
Break them in before you go.
Yeah, wear your sneakers or whatever. I see people with like heels on them.
God.
I don't understand it, but
Nope.
Who goes to a park in heels?
Well, they do.
Some women do. Yeah,
The prostitutes on Main Street?
yeah, maybe.
They have the red light district on Main
right?
Street.
God forbid. But yeah, no, absolutely, because you're walking so much, you need to have comfortable shoes, and even that, your feet are gonna hurt.
yeah.
But at least you're giving yourself half a chance.
Yeah, take breaks. Don't burn yourself out.
Yep.
And make sure you break your shoes in before you go. Do not wear brand new shoes to Disneyland, Disney World, because your feet are going to be swollen and everything if you don't break them in before you go.
Yeah, when you buy shoes, what I like to do is I walk around the house with them for like a week.
Oh yeah.
So that way you don't have all the outside crap going into your floors. So, this is my personal preference as far as breaking in shoes, but
That's a good tip.
to each his own. All right, moving ahead here. So, Murph, you're dressed for success, clearly. All right. I want you to tell me about your membership at Club 33.
Oh, I would, but I signed a confidentiality disclosure or whatever.
Is it NDA?
Yeah, one of those. So I can't speak about it.
The initiation fee could be as high as $100,000
That is crazy.
to get in, and
That is
then
crazy.
I think you have to pay between $13,000 and $30,000 a year.
And there's probably a long waiting list, I'm sure, even at those fees and stuff. Because it's California,
I
so
know and they don't exactly go overboard advertising it. I know Tom Hanks is a member. To my understanding, it's also the only place that serves alcohol in the park, unless there's another area. But
I think that might be it. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't know, but it's very nondescript too.
Right.
You could be walking, like when we went to Blue Bayou, you're just walking by the door and you're like, oh, that's it. You just happen to see that it says 33 or Club 33 or whatever on it. So it's not something that they advertise. It's very low key and very.
Well, I would imagine the people that go in there don't want that kind of attention,
Sure.
that kind of ruckus. You're paying that amount of money almost to kind of
disappear.
keep people away. You know what I mean? This
No, it makes
secret
perfect
society.
sense. Yeah,
So,
makes perfect sense.
have you met anybody when you were in there?
Have I met anybody in Club 33?
No, like any any celebs you rub shoulders with any of these bigwigs?
Oh
wait, you signed the NDA.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, so you
yeah.
technically have never been there. Put that in quotes, right?
Right.
All right. So you know nothing about that.
Nope.
Well, have you ever seen any celebrities at Disneyland? I mean, it is in California.
Ironically, yes, I saw. This is interesting. I don't know if the kids. I think it was one time when I went with just my sister and my niece, and we saw Harvey Weinstein there. He was there with his family.
Oh, boy.
He was walking by, and I was like, I think that's Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, we saw on. I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram. Like it was the same day. One of the same days we were there. There was two of the cast members from the show Downton Abbey were there. They were posing in front of the castle, and we're like, how did we miss them? Because that would have been really neat. But
It's funny, yeah. Poor Harvey Weinstein. No, I don't feel sorry for him.
no, I don't feel sorry for him either. So, but that's
It's kind of ironic seeing him in Disneyland. It's like, what are you doing here?
Definitely.
Poor guy.
No.
And so you ladies are all too hard on him.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No
Yeah,
pun
no.
intended.
Oh boy.
Best times of the year. Are there any? To go?
Well, I've been there in February. That's when my niece's class trip is, and it's early February, so it's not bad. We're there. We fly on a Wednesday and we fly home on a Sunday. So we're there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday and Friday aren't so bad. Saturday's a little bit busier because it's the weekend, so the locals will come down, or whatever. But I think those are the best times. The off-peak times.
Not during summer. Summer's
Not during
probably
summer.
a crazy time. And it's probably very hot there in the summer, too.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, it's we've had good weather. We've had colder weather. Last year it was a little cooler, and same time this year, and it was 75, 80 degrees and sunny. So it depends, but I think definitely summer is going to be too hot, definitely too crowded. No matter which park you go to.
Especially when kids have off from from school or they're on break.
Yeah. I wouldn't go during spring break time, even though the weather probably would be nice. It would just be too crowded. And it's more expensive then, too.
Yeah, and you don't want to, when you're going to a Disney park, you don't want to be sweating like crazy, like the 90, 100-degree weather days, which you do get in both parks.
Yep.
It's not pleasant. You don't want to be walking around sweating. You're tired, you're cranky, you're hot, it's crowded.
Yeah.
So I think going in February, January, February, after the holiday stuff, of course, because that gets crazy too. But that's a great time to go because the weather is temperate, and if you need a little light jacket or a sweatshirt at night, big whoop. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So, we've been lucky, I think, so far. I'm knocking on wood, with the temperatures and stuff. So, I would definitely recommend those times of the year.
Any particular rides, in your opinion, that are overrated that people should skip?
What's funny is that there's one ride, I think it used to be like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or something, and now it's the like Finding Nemo ride, and there's always a line for it. You look on the the Disney apps and stuff like that, and there's always a wait time for it, always. And we went on it once a couple years ago, and it was, I think if you have little kids, it might be okay, but you're in this submarine and you got all that stale air and cramped and crowded and bang your head and whatever and stuff. I don't think it's worth it at all. But there's always a wait time for it, and so much so that my sister took a screenshot of the wait time once, and she sent it to myself and my nieces, and I think it was like 120 minutes of a wait time or something crazy, and my niece was like, that's 121 minutes too long. She's like, it was crazy. So I can't even imagine waiting in line for that type of ride, because
you could see a movie in that amount of time.
Exactly.
That Disney movie is a little over an hour and a half.
Yeah. So it was no, it's not worth it. That's like the top of the list of no. But I mean, most of them I think are great. You've got Matterhorn. I won't do teacups just because personal preference. I can't do the spinning rides.
I would love to do Matterhorn. I see
Matterhorn's
that all
fun.
the time. That looks like such a cool ride.
It's fun, yeah. Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Road. That's a classic, and that's a great one.
Classic indeed. So, kind of rounding the corner here, Murph, is there any other pieces of information or any advice that you can give to first-timers going to Disneyland that are hopefully not blown away by the jargon that we're using here today because they have their own language there?
They seriously do.
Yeah.
One other thing that I started doing a few years ago was, instead of having cash, if you're buying, say, a churro or any kind of snacks or a bottle of water or anything like that, get a Disney gift card, put money on that. You can reload them if you want at the hotels or at any store, and then there's two things. You're not having to worry about do I have enough money? Whatever. You have your money on your card, and then you're not pulling out a wallet you're showing a lot of cash for people that are around that might be, kind of looking at you.
It's a good tip.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've been doing for the past couple times we've been out there, and I get them for the kids too. If they want to buy whatever, if they want to buy something, a souvenir, or if they want to buy, it's easier. Then they can just do it, and they don't have to worry about any cash or anything. But you can set a budget and try and stick to it. I mean, buy your shirts in advance like Gina has done, and maybe they're a little bit cheaper than actually at the parks or whatever. So things like that. You know what your spending should be. So try and stick to it. Tell the kids, or limit yourselves.
Also, if you plan on dressing your child up as a character, if you want to dress your little girl up as Cinderella or Tiana or one of the princesses, you want to buy that in advance.
Yeah.
You can get some of that stuff, I think, on like Amazon. So planning ahead, again, like Patty mentioned, buying those costumes in advance can save you a ton of money. This way you can get your kid dressed in the morning, you get do their hair, do whatever you're going to do, and you bring them in and you get all the cute pictures with the characters, and that will save you a ton of money, is buying all that stuff in advance.
Yeah, and then you can spend that money on churros.
Yes.
and Dole Whip.
And Dole Whip, yes.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that should do it. I think we covered upon everything.
Great.
And you did a good job. You've spoken like a true prodigy, darling.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Well, again, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Please keep up the RNF, resting nice face, all right, with being approachable.
Thank you.
A lot of things to gram. Well, we'll take a lot of selfies together.
We'll do the
in front of
gram.
castles,
We will do the gram.
Yeah. All right, Murph, again, thanks for coming on. I thought you were great.
Thank
you.
You
did a good job.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right, everyone, that's the podcast. Thank you all for listening to Victory Loves Company. I'm Conrad Agderian. Please check us out on our social media outlets at VLC Podcast. And I'll talk at you next week.